Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about this exit slip analysis? Actually, let me just back up for a second. So, if I recall correctly, back at the beginning of the year, you said um, one of the things that you were grappling with was, yeah, I get the whole exit slip thing, but then what do you do with that information, right? So, can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how that led you to this?
Um, so at the beginning of the year, I would do the exit slips, and then I would just have the pile of papers sit on my desk and not actually ever do anything more than like look at them, because I wasn't really sure what I could do with them that would be really easy and make an impact. It just seemed like another like set of things to grade. So what I came up with was this exit slip analysis that instead of actually having to grade the exit slips, I just give them a 3, a 2, or a 1 based on like general understanding of whatever the objective was for that day. So a 3 doesn't necessarily mean they got the entire problem 100% correct, but they show that they understand the objective for that day. A 2 is like they maybe need some extra support, and a 1 is just no understanding of the objective. So once I rank the students in that, they get placed into the 3, the 2, or the 1 section, so I can keep track of which students are where, if a student's consistently in a 1 or a 2 or a 3. And then I start to do an analysis of which students are where.
Can you talk a little bit about the analysis part?
Yeah, sure. So this one, they all got it right, so that's a little off. But like for this one, I look at how many students got which section. If it was like maybe only 1 or 2 students got a 1, that shows me that that's a misunderstanding that they specifically have, and that I need to go over specifically with them and conference with them about it, and that there's no need to go over it with the entire class again. If there's a higher number of students in like this one, if there's a higher number of students in like the 1 section or the 2 section, then it tells me that there's something like a larger misunderstanding in the class that I need to go over with the whole class, and it's not just to check in with those students. And then, so once I figure out that analysis and look at what even like percentage of students were able to answer correctly or incorrectly, and then also I look for patterns in that. So I know there's one down here that has a pattern. So here I noticed that like of the people that got it wrong, most of them had trouble converting from the percent to a fraction, and then they would get the decimal wrong. And so like trying to figure out where, if there's any patterns of where students got things wrong, so it's not just I can do a more targeted reteach or a more targeted conference if I need to. And then that comes up in the next step section where I actually write down what I'm planning on doing, if it's including something in the next lessons or making sure to check in with those specific students. That got a 1.
Can you talk a little bit about this one?
Oh, okay. So this one was a little different. It was the exit slip was what do we want to review for the midterm, and they each were supposed to write down a topic that they wanted, like their number one thing that they wanted to review the next day. And so I sorted those into like the 8, yeah, 8 common things that I noticed, and then I tried to figure out where students fell so that I could include the highest number of topics that were actually the most relevant. So like make sure to review percents, decimals, fractions, distributed property, and then maybe only go over ratios with Rosalie. And I also, when I was making review sheets, I made sure to include review sheets with these topics because there were things that people specifically said they needed help with.
So you were really building in opportunities for them to be reflective about their own learning and think about what is it that they really need in order to be prepared for this midterm.
Yeah.
So what do you do on a day like this? Or a day when you have like kind of a split that is not so heavy with, you know,
Like this one.
like this one, yeah.
Um, so
This one.
yeah. So I think. Alright. Um, that's where it gets a little more complicated because if it's just one or two students who are at a one, then you can really easily pull them. When it gets to be a higher number, I sometimes try to make a small group, but in this case, with the ones and the twos, it'd be getting a little large. Sometimes what I'll do is if we're doing partner work, instead of having them work with the person sitting next to them, I'll like pair them based on this, and they have like threes and ones paired up. So maybe they're working with someone new, but they're with someone who understands the material, partner with someone who doesn't quite understand the material. And then also if it's like this is almost half the class now that's at a two or a one, so maybe I can like look and try to figure out if it's something that went wrong. Like I noticed here that the twos and ones had trouble finishing the worksheet. So it wasn't as much that they didn't understand, it was that they didn't finish the exit slip, especially the division. So maybe making sure to go over the topic that I noticed all the twos and the ones were struggling with as like a targeted reteach.
So will you talk a little bit, I know you talked a little bit about this before, but will you talk a little bit about how this has changed the way that you approach like planning?
It gives me an easier way to think about like what I need to change for even just the next day's lesson. So if I, for this one that's on the screen, like if the next day was a continuation of that objective, then I can make sure that like I'm working closely with Delani to check that she's actually understanding the work really well, or that she's starting to gain a little more understanding. And I can, if there's more students, like here, there's a lot more students that were on the one, so maybe make sure to include that topic in the do now and give myself more time to do the do now and have it be kind of like a mini reteach of the topic before we go into the next section so that those students aren't getting stuck before the lesson even starts. So really just using it to help me immediately change my plans.